Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Mad Capper and this is another video on Raid Shadow Legends. Today we're going to begin a multi-part series on artifacts. Artifacts are the most critical component to this game, and to understand them correctly is to understand how to properly build out champions to progress throughout the early, mid, and into the late game. There are several different topics to cover when it comes to artifacts, and there is way too much for one video. You guys barely are able to make it through any of my videos at 20 minutes. I couldn't imagine a 3-hour documentary on artifacts. However, we are going to break it up into 6 different videos, and the videos are going to go as such. The first video, we're going to talk about the basics of artifacts, how they break down, what they mean, what the subs, the mains, kind of just all the ins and outs that you should understand when looking at artifacts. The second through 5th video will be the different artifact sets, and I'm going to break them down based on where you can obtain them. So we're not going to go over campaign artifacts because that's really, you get those to very early to begin with, but the same rules apply to the ones that are of course found in the dungeon. So the Ice Golem, Dragon, Fire Knight, and then we're going to talk about the Arena, Platinum Arena, the Forge, the Doom Tower of course, and finally the gear from the Clan Boss and the Relentless gear that you can only get in through tournaments. And then the last video, I'm going to go through a sample of myself breaking down the different artifact from a 100 runs that I do in the Dragon or Spider, whatever happens. I think Fire Knight will probably be open. That tournament will be open by the time I do this. So that's the final video. We'll just kind of go over what I do with my artifacts, how I decide what to keep, kind of a mini gear cleanse, if you will, for the final video. So without further ado, let's go over the basics and basic understanding of artifacts. So here is the basic layout of your champion screen. You see on the left hand side you have your list of champions that are not in the vault, listed in whatever order you have by rank. Also does affinity first, just in case anyone was curious as to what that ruling is. I'm sure you guys have figured it out, but you never know. And then you see we're going to use Lysandra for this example. She's a perfect example of what you're going to do with artifacts, both top set, bottom set. You can also see I've removed myself from the screen so that you can see what I'm talking about on the left hand side, because that's where the artifacts will show up once we click on them. So let's start by looking at the basics and fundamentals of artifacts. Also, for this series, I am not going to talk about accessories. If this is a video series that you guys like, I might add on accessories at the end because there are some similarities and some differences that we probably would need to talk about when talking about them. But for now, we're just going to talk about the top artifact sets, which are the 6 pieces that make up your main body of artifacts. You have your weapon, your helm, your shield, your gauntlets, your chest, and your boots. Commonly, we refer to these separately as top row and bottom row. The reason why is because the top row right here have a different rule set than the bottom row. The top row has a few different caveats to them. First off, the main stat, which is the bold stat, which is what the item is, in this case a weapon, will always be attack. The helm will always be HP, and the defense will always be, the shield will always be defense. In addition to that, there are a few other little rules that you should be aware of. First off, in the top row, defense can never have a flat stat attack or percentage. It can never have attack on a shield. Similarly, the attack can never have a defense flat stat or percent on it. The substats can be anything but those, but those two are off limits as such. The helm can have everything. So that is important to note, that when you're balancing out what you're trying to build, for example, if you're building a champion that needs lots of attack, you need to max that out prior to looking at your shield. Often, I put the shield first on attack-based champions so that I know what substats I'm getting and I know where I'm looking for attack. I don't want to leave that to my final piece because maybe there's a piece that might give me 2 less speed, but a double roll in attack might be better off for me in my overall stat pool than the other way around, etc., etc. The other thing to note is on the bottom row. On the bottom row, there is a very specific breakdown of what can and cannot be on each particular set. Unlike the top row that is fixed, the bottom row is not, and it has several different options. The easiest way to figure that out is to click the filter button. The filter allows you to filter out top row, bottom row, or any sort of combination. Let's take a look, for example, at gauntlets. When we click that, you see the primary stats listed will be the ones that are highlighted are the ones that you are able to actually obtain for that particular item, in this case the gauntlet. As you can see on the right hand side of the 2 columns here, you have crit rate and crit damage, which unlock, but speed, resistance, and accuracy remain locked. That is because gauntlets cannot have a main stat of speed, resistance, or accuracy. And just to note, all of the bottom row can have anything on the left-hand side: HP, attack, defense, both flat and percentage based. When you move over to the chest, you see that it changes. Now crit rate, crit damage are gone, speed's still out, but now resistance and accuracy are available. Finally, when we go to the boots, click over here, you see that speed is highlighted, but the other 4 are darkened out. That is, again, an important piece to note, because typically when you're building out your champion, you want to know what total stats you can obtain, and you need to know what the main stat that you're looking for is. More often than not, you're trying to match the main stat to the champion type, but that's a little bit more in champion build, so maybe in a different series we'll take a look at how to build out an HP, an attack, a support, and a defense-based champion as separate little kind of one-offs. There are other caveats that you need to know about the bottom row. One such thing is, whatever the main stat is on the champion, you cannot have a substat of the same type. So in this particular case, you have defense percent. That means you cannot have a substat of defense percent. You see here we have accuracy. That means you cannot have a substat of accuracy. And finally, with speed, you cannot have a substat of speed. This is true among all different types. So if this was a flat stat defense, you couldn't have a sub flat stat defense, etc. It is also pretty common knowledge, but important to note, that when building out champions, it is advantageous for you to concentrate on percentage-based stats, as well as speed, accuracy, and resistance, depending on the champion you're building out. Resistance and accuracy are a little bit more niche into the mid to late game, but in the early game, the percent stats rule supreme. You will also find that more of your champions will tend to switch over to accuracy chests than anything else. You can see, for example, my Lysandra is in an accuracy set. She's got decent accuracy, which really helps her with that turn meter reduction on the enemy, although her primary goal in this particular case is speed, so that's just an added bonus as opposed to something we were actually focusing on when trying to build out this champion. Another important thing to note is the rarity and the quality of the artifacts. These are 2 different pieces of information that are easily obtained when looking at the screen. The rarity is the color around the border, and you can have everything from common, uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary. As you can see here, I have a combination of rare, epic, and legendary pieces, and this allows you to see what substats are unlocked. Substats are unlocked at 4, 8, 12, and 16 on the piece, as you can see here, but the advantage of better rarity is that you already have some of those unlocked. So at 4, for example, when we rolled this, it was able to actually place an additional bonus on an already existing stat. In the case of Epic, there are 3 unlocked, so as you can see here, we got a triple roll speed. It was able to roll on the first 3 that were already unlocked. At 16, it revealed HP, which we previously did not know what that was going to be. And on Rare, it's 2, so the top 2, speed and HP, were already there at 4 and 8, and it both rolled on speed. And then afterwards, we unlocked accuracy and flat stat HP. This is the case for all artifacts. They all follow that same logic when upgrading. The best part is, when looking at all this, is you don't have to remember all this information. If you want to find this information, go to Artifact Upgrade and then hit the info button. In the info button is a ton of information which will tell you exactly what a primary stat and substats are allowed to happen, and some of the caveats up here. See on the basics list there, as well as sets, etc. When we talk about sets, it's important to note, and we'll talk about more of this in the final video I do, that sets are important, but they are not the only importance. Sets are like a bonus. It is an end game piece. It is how you build out your champion to the very end. But a lot of the times you're going to build out champions that aren't broken sets, and that's okay. I was just about to show you, and I forgot I re-geared him. What you typically will do is you'll start building out a champion and just get the best stats possible for that champion. Then as you progress and get more gear, better artifacts, you'll start trying to re-gear them to have complementary sets. In this case with Sir Nick, I wanted Immortal set because he is an HP champion, so his damage and survivability, of course, it scales with HP. He's got a decent starting HP set, but I also wanted him to be reasonably fast and hit reasonably hard. So I was looking for crit rate, crit damage, and speed, so I used speed sets. These sets, as you can see over here, will actually summarize what you're getting. The 2-piece set of Immortal gives me 15% and heals 3% every turn. The speed is a 2-piece, which gives me 12%. And again, there's 2 of them, so they can actually stack. You can have 3 speed sets to get 3 bonuses, 2 speed sets to get 2 bonuses, etc. This will work with any of the 2-piece sets. A 4-piece set, of course, can't be stacked because you only have 6 total slots, and a 4-piece set needs 4 of those 6. But you can, of course, have a 4-piece and a 2-piece. As an example, we don't always... Here's another example of a 4-piece set with a 2-piece set. We wanted to obtain that extra accuracy, so we got the set bonus, and we wanted the ability to taunt. Bonuses come in 2 different types. They can either affect your base stats, or they can give you additional abilities. As you can see here, we have 1 of each. The accuracy 2-piece set, which is generally how you get base stat increments, is through 2-piece sets, and additional abilities are through 4-piece sets. So the 2-piece set here gives us a flat extra 40, whereas taunting gives us a 30% chance to provoke, which is a set bonus. Keep in mind that set bonuses do not have to roll accuracy or resistance checks. This will either happen or not happen. This has a 30% chance regardless of the other champion. Immunity sets will still block the taunt, so keep that in mind when playing out your champions using these specialized sets. The next thing to note is that not every champion needs to have completed sets. Haha, here's one. So I have an immunity set on my Candrafon. I use them in a very specific way that I need that immunity, but the best possible stats I could put together for him included having a broken set. So as you can see, we only have the immunity set bonus. We do not get a bonus for these 2. Ultimately, in a perfect world, I would add a set bonus set there, probably attack or speed, to help him out with his total build, but because of his mechanic and because of what I am doing with him, it made more sense to first concentrate on the best possible stat outcome. This is especially important to note when you're doing a 4-piece set, because those other 2 set pieces may not always fall within the same set. As you can see with Ethos, we were actually able to upgrade him to have a matching set, and so we have a 4-piece Relentless, but we also have that wonderful Divine Offense, which gives us the attack bonus plus the self shield on him. And it's actually a fairly good endgame build with him, and allows me to get 6k attack. That is how you do that. The final thing I think I want to talk about when it comes to base sets of this nature is that you are always upgrading. Never think of a champion as completed. There are still things about even Ethos that I want to do, and as I get more immunity sets, more attack sets, whether it's these 2 or I replace them with other ones, I'm constantly trying to improve the amount of damage he does. So he's at 185 crit damage. I want more attack if I can get more. I think that's a pretty good attack number, and definitely speed. I'd love to speed him up another 30 speed if I could. So constantly improving the overall numbers and sacrificing, maybe sacrifice 200 attack for 20 speed. Those sort of things are things that we're going to be doing throughout the lifespan of playing this game, and that's why you obviously farm for artifact sets, continue to level them up, etc., etc. I think that's about what I wanted to talk about. Oh, no, there's one more thing I want to talk about sets, and this is probably the most important thing, so I'm glad I didn't forget it. In fact, I'm even going to turn on the video just so I can hammer home the point. When building up a set, it is important to know what and how these stats manipulate your stats. So when you look over here, you see, for example, this has got crit damage, attack, crit rate, accuracy, and defense. Everything multiplies, all base stats multiply off the base value. So for example, this 11 plus 5%, the 16% modifies the 1608 attack and then adds the totals together, which is what you see on the right hand side. Crit rate, however, is a absolute value, meaning that that percentage is what gets added to this percentage to make the 100%, or as close to it. In this case, I overshot it, but the gear is the gear. Crit damage is the same way. It is an absolute. Accuracy and resistance are absolutes. In other words, that 11 is just plus 11 at the end here. And defense percent and attack percent are modifiers. They modify the base value and then add all the totals from the different base values. Speed, of course, has the one is the one exception to the rule, and I'll show you with using, for example, I guess we can use Lisanne. Actually, we'll use Arbiter for this one. She's not hiding. So as you can see, Arbiter, I have her an immunity set with a speed set. That one speed set is giving me a bonus. This is the only time where the base actually gives you a flat, right? Anytime there's speed on an item, like here, for example, a double roll 16 plus 4 adds 20 there. But the set bonus is actually a percentage. Please note this speed has both different types depending on the set. Perception set also has a speed bonus. And it has the base, the absolute value as well. Also, keep in mind, flat stats in attack, HP, and defense, of course, are an absolute value that will add to the total. Now, when calculating these speed bonuses, this 12%, it does do the base and it keeps the fraction, although it doesn't show it. And the easy way to see that is if we were to take this item, which is right now 22, and we were to replace it with something that has 11, I lose 26. Well, where does that 26 come from? Quite simple. There's minus 22 when I take the unit off. Plus I get the set bonus, which is about 2, and I get the mastery, which is about 2, right? But the set bonus is actually not 2, it's 1 point something. So where's the 26? Well, that's quite simple. Fractions are kept. All these different bonuses are calculated on all the different gear, and it's rounded to the nearest whole number. Obviously, anything 0.5 and up rounds up, and everything 0.49 and down rounds down. And that's an important thing to note when swapping out sets. Like this, for example, nets 26 instead of 25 because there is a fraction involved in this total, because 12% of 110 is not an even number. That is why we have wonderful speed calculators thanks to deadwoodjedi.com. If you head there, you can do clan boss and arena speed calculators, which do all the fraction carrying for you so that you can properly tune your team to do both clan boss and or the arena effectively and safely without wondering, why did this happen? That's all I have for you today for the step 1, guide 1 of the artifacts. If there's anything I've forgotten, please feel free to reach out to me on Discord or comments down below, or even on Twitch, where I stream 4 to 5 days a week, and I'd be more than happy to clarify or add to or whatever it may be. Finally, I want to thank you for joining me for part 1 of this video. I hope you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next 5 videos explaining all the differences about artifacts. Thank you, be kind to one another, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.